Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Superman Year 1, issue number 3 of 3. And at the end, it doesn't say the end, it says just the beginning. And I swear to God, I'm going to need a couple people to beat me with lead pipes if this is actually going to continue in some way, shape, or form, because DC damn well should have known better. This is ridiculous. I'm going to tell you 5 things about this book. None of them are positive. That just is what it is, baby. That just is what it is. Let's get talking about number 1 on this. Well, shoot, I guess I got to tell you. Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. did this book, and it's a shame that it exists. Okay, let's talk about number 1 finally on this book. Number 1 is that Superman rescued Lois. This is probably the most Superman thing that happened in this entire book, because they're off on some deserted island someplace, and she's on a mission someplace. She's I'm gonna get the story, but then there's like some corrupt military people, which is always annoying to find, but unfortunately they do exist, and they're usually contractors, not actually working for the military, but whatever is what it is. It's Frank Miller, man. He's always thinking that he's pushing an envelope when in reality it's just real emotional, and facts don't care about your feelings, bruh. So anyway, yeah, he rescues Lois and goes and stops a bunch of bad people, and then he goes off number 2. He comes back to Metropolis and he starts putting signs on people. I'm bad, I do this, and he just lines them all up because he's super speed and super brilliant, learning where everybody is and everything. Anyway, and he rescues a little girl, and that was very nice of him, but it was quite a way to rush a book, just saying. Let's talk about number 3 on here. He fights Batman. You might think I'm excited about that. Hell no, screw that crap, man. First off, do we really need to see another Batman versus Superman? Is that really what we're looking for? Was anybody sitting here clamoring, okay, you know what this book really needs? Because no, we weren't. We absolutely were not. Yeah, man. I know that Frank Miller existed pre-Daredevil and all his indie stuff and all that other cool stuff, but he didn't really become like, holy crap, Frank Miller, until he did the Dark Knight Returns, I should say, where all of a sudden he's fighting Batman, and Batman just straight up whooped his ass and did it in a really awesome way. I think we all look back to those days and say, why? Why can't we just have that? Here, he's just trying to copy somebody else. He's not redoing his own thing. He's copying somebody else. I'm going to get to that in a minute. You might guess it on your own. Because number 4 is that Wonder Woman shows up, and she's breaking up the fight, and then they go after a common threat together. We've seen this before somewhere. Not read it, seen it. But I'm not going to go there just yet. We're not ready for that yet. Because first we're going to talk about how Wonder Woman fell in love with Clark, even though she just met him. Kiss me so that I know... Fuck all, whatever the hell they said. Kiss me for something. Like, yo, for reals? Yo. Let's just get ready to number 5 on this list. They're fighting Lex Luthor. That's like the main bad guy in here. Okay, so let me get this straight. We got a movie where Batman and Superman get into a fight because there's a big misunderstanding that doesn't make any kind of sense. And then there's Wonder Woman who shows up to break up that fight. They really have to fight Lex Luthor, and he's the one who started the whole thing in the first place. And so basically, he's a Scott Snyder fan, right? Not Zack Snyder, not Scott Snyder. So I'm really glad to see that with this particular issue, Frank Miller decided, you know what? I'm going to redo the BVS movie, the Batman vs. Superman movie, in honor and in tribute of Zack Snyder. Bruh, don't nobody give 2 squirts about what the hell you think about his movie. That's already been established that don't nobody like it. And you ain't going to sit here and try and redo it by just simply doing the same damn thing, essentially, and then talk about, but Superman and Wonder Woman should have gotten themselves a kiss going, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, no. Now, this book sucked. And let me tell you what makes it even worse about it. This book had absolutely nothing to do with the other 3 books, except for the fact that Superman was in it. Well, at least a guy wearing his clothes, because that didn't feel like Superman. Yo, book 1 had nothing to do with the other 2 books. Book 2 had nothing to do with the other 2 books. Vis-a-vis, math would say that this book had nothing to do with the other 2 books. Dude, all 3 of these books could have by themselves become their own issues. They could have been their own series. They could have been spread out more and been done better. And honestly, I'm going to say right now, as much as I'm insulting these books, I still loves me some Frank Miller. And if the man would just sit down and stop trying to rush a damn story out, talking about, oh, well, there's... Like, look, maybe it's DC telling him, listen, so we want you to do 3 installments. And he's just like, only 3? But I have more stories to tell. We're only going to give you 1. And, like, this is what you got to do. And that's it. You know, he's just like, well, I'm just going to tell these 3 stories in 3 different issues of this book. And then we'll see where we go from there. Yo, can I just remind you of something, bruh? You're Frank Mother effing Miller. And maybe it's time that you let some of these other punk-ass bitches know that. Frank Miller is, like, he's this guy who's got this name that just reverberates and people listen. Not only that, people shut the hell up and listen. Ain't nobody trying to talk over Frank Miller. But when Frank Miller rushes out some nonsense like this, I can't help but to look at this and say, is Frank Miller home, or is it just somebody wearing his costume? Because that's pretty much what I got from this book with Superman. That's what I'm getting with this. Don't even get me started on John Romita Jr. I don't know why people keep on hiring him for this crap. Dude, you don't remember how to draw. Just enough of this stuff. Go away, man. I'm so... Like, you make a... Even if this was a great comic book, you'd still make it crap by this horrible art. And if y'all are out there and you like this art, that's cool, man. Whatever. Art is subjective. But you do have to understand that if you're getting mad over this, you are massively outnumbered. Like we're talking about, you might as well try and deny climate change at this point. That's the droves of people coming out and just infuriated with John Romita Jr. for just being like, nah, it's a cash grab at this point. I don't care about doing good art. Like, the comic book artists of yore, like your own father, still alive, but rolling in his grave, probably thinking about, dude, back when I was alive, we used to actually care about our legacy. It actually mattered. And clearly you don't care about that. You don't care about delivering to the fans. You just don't care. You're about a paycheck and you just don't care. Can you imagine if I got up here and I was just like jerking off and talking to the fans like, yeah, this book was like, you know, I don't know, some stuff happened or whatnot. No, I kind of care about the people who are watching my videos. I know a lot of people always say, I want to thank all the fans. They never tell you what they thank you about. I thank you guys for actually making me relevant. I thank you guys for actually validating me. I thank you guys for actually giving a crap about what I've got to say, because I could be talking into the breeze. You know what I'm saying? You value my opinion, and I appreciate that, because you don't have to. You made a choice to do that. You know, if you're listening to me and you're just like, I don't agree with anything this guy's saying, but at least he's making good points, you stop to actually listen. So I appreciate that. I do. That's what an appreciation is all about. Hey, John Romita Jr., God damn you, jackass. Fucking learn what that means, you dumbass. I'm so pissed at that guy. Dude shouldn't even be here except to go for signings once in a while. And feel free to charge $500 for a signing or whatever you want to do. But don't draw anymore, dude. You suck. You lost it if you ever had it. One person who actually infuriates me in the comic book world, seriously, only one. It's this jackass. You are an embarrassment. That's what you are. Because you genuinely, dude, you deliver trash and you send it to us and say, they're going to buy it up and I'm going to make money off of it. Go to hell, jackass. You suck. As for the rest of us, this book is just something that I don't know why it exists. Listen, any of these individual issues, if they were made into an ongoing or even like a 12-issue series or something like that, and F John Romita, don't let him anywhere near this damn book, but rather let Frank Miller actually do this story. Let him just sit down and just be like, dude, I'm going to tell this cool story. And you'll either like it or you won't. But I'm not rushing anything. They're all going to be connected. They're going to have some kind of relevance. I think that we might enjoy it just a little bit more. But right now we got 3 completely different books all in one series that don't mesh in any way, shape, or form. You could say, oh, but it started here and then it went there. And it went... What was the Atlantis thing for? Exactly. Exactly. If you're going to make stuff up, at least make it relevant. This had nothing, none of these 3 books tied in with each other, except by the thinnest, like not even a hair, more like the thinnest capillary ever imaginable. Dude, you're talking about splitting the atom if you get any smaller. This was pathetic. This was just a horrible, horrible display of comic book showmanship. And of course, it did not mesh with the comic book university standard, if I'm actually important enough to have one. The idea that it didn't even stick the landing. This was terrible. This was terrible. Dude, screw Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder is awesome. But, like, screw Zack Snyder. You're freaking Frank Miller. I'm sorry, you put these two in a room. Who's going to look at Frank Miller and say, who's this guy? No. They're going to be like, oh, Zack Snyder. Hey, your line is short because everybody's going over to get signed by this guy. So I'll just come over here really quick. But I need to hurry up and jump in that line. Sorry, can't talk, brah. You know what I'm saying? I'll tweet you or something. People are going in Frank Miller's line. I just want Frank Miller to go back to doing what he was doing. And whatever safeguards are on him or whatever limitations are on him, dude, hands were meant to be, like, his hands were meant to be writing comic books, not tied. And that's exactly what this is. This, at least that's what it feels like. I don't know, man. This should have been told, each one of these should have been their own stories. You want to make them Black Label, be my guest. The only one that really needed to be Black Label was the first one, because they brought up potential child rape. Aside from that, why was this Black Label? This could have been a whole lot better than it actually was, but it was too busy trying to be something else, namely something that Zack Snyder did, and clearly didn't do a good job at, except for those 12 or 13 people who showed up for the Give Us the Snyder Cut thing. They disagree with me. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.